Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
We are a nation in decline.
Experts are preparing for what is known as Disease X, or the next pandemic.
What we are seeing is a revolution against the system.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Rise and Grind with VinceTagliavia. I'm live with you every Monday through Friday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific Time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time to discuss the news and events of the day to start things off before we get into the rest of the grind. So welcome, one and all. I apologize for the late start today, but here we go. We're off, and we're going to get into all of the nitty-gritty here. All the news, all the things, and all the stuff. And of course, I'll publish it all on Susbtack right after the show. So if you want to share any of the stories, you can have a place to easily find them. Or if you just prefer reading some days, then you can get that every day if you subscribe to my Substack. So please enjoy. You can find that in the description or on my website in the description. All right, everybody. Let's get into it. What a wild day yesterday was. A lot of developing news. It's all happening so quickly. It's challenging to keep up, which is why we do shows like this, so we could stay on top of all of the news. It's really a lot. And I know everyone's trying to do this at the same time. They're doing all their day-to-day tasks. They're working their jobs. They're taking care of their families. They're running around running errands, working on things around the house, gardening, doing all kinds of stuff. And in the meantime, they're listening to shows like this and just trying to stay on top of things. It's just a wild world. That's why I do the show, because I was one of those people. I still am. I'm always just trying to stay on top of what's going on in the world and making decisions accordingly. And good morning, all in the live chats this morning. Thanks for joining. The Pugnacious is here. Pavon and Christy, good morning to you guys and gals. Good morning indeed. And shout out to any new followers out there. Thank you. And 1-1 over there on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in live. Good to see you. Hope y'all are doing well. We're going to get into it. Let's do it. First, we're going to watch this video here from Trump and listen to what he has to say, and then we'll move on with the rest. But man, are we in the midst of it? This is going to be just one hell of a year, I tell you. Let's hear what Trump has to say.
My plan to dismantle the deep state and reclaim our democracy from Washington corruption once and for all, and corruption it is. First, I will immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats, and I will wield that power very aggressively. Second, we will clean out all of the corrupt actors in our national security and intelligence apparatus, and there are plenty of them. The departments and agencies that have been weaponized will be completely overhauled so that faceless bureaucrats will never again be able to target and persecute conservatives, Christians, or the left's political enemies, which they're doing now at a level that nobody can believe even possible. Third, we will totally reform FISA courts, which are so corrupt that the judges seemingly do not care when they are lied to in warrant applications. So many judges have seen so many applications that they know were wrong, or at least they must have known. They do nothing about it. They're lied to. Fourth, to expose the hoaxes and abuses of power that have been tearing our country apart, we will establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to declassify and publish all documents on deep state spying, censorship, and corruption. And there are plenty of them. Fifth, we will launch a major crackdown on government leakers who collude with the fake news to deliberately weave false narratives and to subvert our government and our democracy. When possible, we will press criminal charges. Sixth, we will make every Inspector General's office independent and physically separated from the departments they oversee, so they do not become the protectors of the deep state. Seventh, I will ask Congress to establish an independent auditing system to continually monitor our intelligence agencies to ensure they are not spying on our citizens or running disinformation campaigns against the American people, or that they are not spying on someone's campaign like they spied on my campaign. Eighth, we will continue the effort launched by the Trump administration to move parts of the sprawling federal bureaucracy to new locations outside the Washington swamp. Just as I moved the Bureau of Land Management to Colorado, as many as 100,000 government positions could be moved out, and I mean immediately, of Washington to places filled with patriots who love America, and they really do love America. Ninth, I will work to ban federal bureaucrats from taking jobs at the companies they deal with and that they regulate. So they deal with these companies and they regulate these companies, and then they want to take jobs from these companies. Doesn't work that way. Such a public display cannot go on, and it's taking place all the time, like with Big Pharma. Finally, I will push a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress. This is how I will shatter the deep state and restore government that is controlled by the people and for the people. Thank you very much.
Trump. Wow. What a list. I think a lot of people like to hear all that. Wow. So there's Trump's plan to dismantle the deep state. That's going around there. Very cool. Very cool. Man, he's going after them. Yeah, and in the chats here, we've got this comment. Christy says, they are running scared, I do believe. The ones that aren't bent and delusional, that is. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of panic among many. And however, I think a lot of people are sticking to their guns and just really committed to destroying things and hoping Trump doesn't get elected. But I really don't see that happening. But you never know. We'll have to just wait and see what happens. I mean, the possibilities are endless. So we will just watch it unfold, I suppose, and do our part. All right, let's talk about it. Texas Governor Greg Abbott invoked Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3. Other states are now able to enter into agreements with Texas to help repel the invasion that Texas is dealing with. We're talking about the border issue here. Other states may now send troops and or equipment to aid in halting the border invasion. Which states will send troops and equipment to defend the border? And we saw this all unfolding over the past 24 hours. And here is Section 10 that we're talking about here. Verbatim, it says, no state shall, without the consent of Congress, lay any duty of tonnage, keep troops or ships of war in time of peace, enter into any agreement or compact with another state or with a foreign power, or engage in war, unless actually invaded, or in such imminent danger as will not admit of delay. Basically, you cannot engage in war or get help without other states or agreements without being invaded. And well, our states are being invaded. Therefore, this can be invoked, and states are beginning to come together now. We are seeing, and it's pretty insane. Here we have a continuation of this, and we'll talk about this more and more here, but we're going to first talk about this. House Republicans have scheduled a vote to impeach Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas amidst the illegal migrant border crisis. We have Fox News discussing this. Let's hear what they have to say.
end the crisis without passing any new laws. House Republicans now have scheduled a vote to impeach Homeland Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas next week. Peter Ducey, live outside the White House. Peter.
Harris, roughly 800 border crossers got away yesterday. 800 more will get away today. 800 more will get away tomorrow. There is no known plan for them from an administration that already has a years-long backlog to adjudicate the border crossers they do catch.
Does President Biden want to locate these folks who have disappeared into this country to parts unknown?
So here's what I will say is that the president, one of the reasons that the president is having these negotiation procedures or process with the Senate, with both Republicans and Democrats, as I've said many times before, is because we want to deal with what's going on at the border.
It's going nowhere. House Speaker Mike Johnson says, I stand with Governor Abbott. The House will do everything in its power to back him up. The next step, holding Secretary Mayorkas accountable. Abbott appears to be daring the federal government to continue suing him. Remember, it's only been a couple days since the administration beat him in court, giving them the new ability to cut razor wire in emergencies.
It's hard for me to tell what's going on. What is clear is that Joe Biden has, from the time he took office, actually during the time that he was campaigning, he had no intent to secure the border. He talked about open border policies during the campaign, and now he's allowed open border policies with candidly most Americans not even knowing what that meant.
Immigration is just not a top priority for this president as he campaigns for re-election. His schedule proves it. This week, it's events on promoting union jobs, promoting access to abortion.
That's right. And interesting that the speaker, Mike Johnson, issued a statement to Texas Governor Abbott, issuing his support. A lot of people don't love Speaker Mike Johnson, but at least he's good on this. He says that he stands with Governor Abbott. The House will do everything in its power to back him up, as they just said. The next step, holding Secretary Mayorkas accountable. So, I mean, we'll see. At least Speaker Mike Johnson is doing something. I mean, he's been a huge letdown to a lot of people who've expected much, much more, to say the least. And that's for sure. But so this is an interesting development. We're getting towards this 10th Amendment situation, states banding together against the federal government. I mean, it's what we've talked about forever, and it's actually beginning to happen. It's interesting to see, and we'll see where it goes. Here we have Glenn Beck on this. Let's see what he has to say. Short clip.
This government has us constantly in a constitutional crisis. Yes. Is Texas willing to go to the mat with the federal government on this?
Yeah, on the border, absolutely. In fact, I co-wrote with the governor Senate Bill 4, which we passed at the end of last year in the umpteenth special session that we had. And it says that our law enforcement can now act as, in essence, Border Patrol. We can arrest, we can detain, we can put in jail people who come here illegally. And the bill says that if we see you cross, or if we happen to find out you cross, because maybe it's a traffic stop, well, where are you from? Well, I just came across the border, whatever is said, that we run a background check, fingerprints, and do a photo, and then we take them to a magistrate and we say, you can either go to jail or you can go home. And if you go home and you come back, you're going to jail for a long time.
Now, that would be great. SCOTUS doesn't have anything to say about that? SCOTUS?
Well, we just passed in December. They're already suing us, and that will be up next. And I'm so disappointed this week because Arizona tried it in 2012. The bill is not as good as ours, and the court wasn't as conservative. So I think we have a real chance to win this. But what I saw from Amy Coney Barrett...
Do you have any idea?
I have no idea, because they didn't give a reason. How could she be separated from Alito and Gorsuch and Thomas and John Roberts? I get. I mean, he is.
Yeah,
he's. I mean, we don't have any confidence in him.
No.
Now, this was a temporary review of it. It will.
And it didn't stop Texas from doing anything.
Right.
It said the federal government can go
Yes.
and do this.
So we still have our wire there.
Yeah.
If they cut their wire, guess what?
You put new wire down.
We patch it up.
That's where we're at. My goodness. Onward here. Elon Musk, James O'Keefe, and many are pointing out this documentary that came out from muckraker.com, highlighting and actually following the illegal alien route from Quito, Ecuador to the United States. And I recommend you check this documentary out. It's the first of its kind, really going inside and showing what's happening with this. And we'll watch a little section of this.
In 2023, nearly 250,000 illegal aliens entered the United States every month. Nearly all of these illegals followed the same mass migration trail that starts in Quito, Ecuador, and ends at the US southern border. So, we decided to follow the trail ourselves. Along the way, we discovered secret Chinese staging hotels, crossed through the world's deadliest jungle, embedded with an illegal alien caravan, rode the Mexican train of death, and finally were kidnapped by the Gulf Cartel, just hundreds of feet from the United States border. This video will expose the entire illegal alien pipeline for what it is: a United Nations weaponized migration agenda, masquerading as an organic humanitarian crisis. This agenda directly benefits cartels and human smugglers, exposes the United States to incredible geopolitical threats, and could potentially usher in permanent one-party rule.
So there you have it, a wonderful 40-minute documentary. That was just the first minute there. Muckraker.com, MUCKRAKER, and Real Muckraker on X.com. I'll retweet it too, so if you follow me, you could watch that later and see their discoveries. So very cool, very cool. Brave to do that too. My gosh, they're even kidnapped by the cartel. Damn. And that's probably exactly what the people encounter that are joining these caravans. Yep. Kidnapped by cartels. Here's a list of the states that have joined in support of Texas. Right now, this list is 12, 13, 14, 15 long, and it's constantly growing. Here's the list right now as of early this morning. Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Iowa, Idaho, Nebraska, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Very determined to secure the border and coming together here in support of Texas. Wow. 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 And people are saying declare emergency. All Republican governors are being called to declare emergency, use the emergency powers to protect their citizens and clean up the invasion. We'll see if what they do. So that's the update on the border crisis here. Absolutely wild. Let's talk about what's going on overseas, though. I mean, this is happening in a lot of other countries, and a lot of other governments are not satisfying their citizens. So we see these protests going on, and it says here, Paris. Jim Ferguson reports, breaking news. Paris is about to be under siege and estimates they only have 3 days of food. A massive, full-scale mobilization of the French protesters is now underway, and they are headed towards the French capital. International protests are erupting all across this European continent after attacks on the farmers by globalists with unfair fuel subsidies and the seizing of farms in Holland. The people are fighting back on a massive scale as the globalists and their puppet governments have failed to contain it. They have a website now, freedomtraininternational.org is sort of a hub for one of these, for some of this. Jim Ferguson is putting out. And we have a lot of videos and such showing these protests. and I'd love to share that with you all here. So let's check it out real quick and look at these. I mean, it is really expanding quickly and gaining steam. Here we go. So here are the highways there. You see many tractors flowing through. Skip forward a bit. Just tractors, tractors, tractors. And here he says, 6 hours ago, Jim Ferguson, France is heading for further escalation as dramatic scenes unfold, with protesters blocking roads, rail, and attacking government buildings with manure, and fires are now being lit. This is one of their strategies. They're blocking government buildings and such, and train tracks and things, and piling up tires and various piles of manure and hay bales and all these things with their farm equipment. This is just absolutely insane that this is happening. But we saw trucker protests in Canada. We saw it in the US a bit as well, and now it's completely engulfed Europe. My goodness. All right. Let's check out more farmers. This is huge. And I mean, they're saying they only have 3 days of food, and here they are protesting and blocking things. It's really concerning, and I understand why people are protesting and all this, but man, it's kind of a risky situation. It really is. And it worries me that it doesn't go the way that it should. The Siege of Paris is what Tim Ferguson is calling it. And we shall see. Here are the angry French farmers spraying slurry and manure at the prefecture in Agen. And this is just, they're just everywhere. So let's take a quick look at this clip here. Just absolutely showering it in manure. Wow. And we also have video here of train tracks. French farmers dumping tires and trash onto train tracks in protest as well. Let me mute this. It's just machine noise. But yeah, here they are blocking the train. Pretty wild stuff, man. We also have right now a convoy in the U.S. headed to Texas, apparently. Trucker convoy heads to Texas to put a stop to Joe Biden's border madness. Let's take a quick look at this. Absolutely. Let's take a look at this. The Politics Brief posted an article on this yesterday. U.S. Representative Keith Self announced that truckers will hold a demonstration along several southern border routes to protest the wide open border at a recent Supreme Court and the recent Supreme Court decision that will allow Border Patrol agents to cut razor wire fencing installed by Texas National Guard personnel. There will be a Take Our Border Back multi-day trucker convoy from January 29th through February 3rd, self-stated in a Facebook post. Routes will end at Eagle Pass, Texas, Yuma, Arizona, and San Ysidro, California. Wow. The People's Convoy was also announced in a flyer. We the People, Take Our Border Back convoy. We the People at takeourborderback.com. General information. They talk about the border being wide open and what they're doing and their mission to take the border back. And because our national security is at risk, they say in their flyer. I think they're right there. Wow, wow, wow. So, man, it's pretty wild that the truckers and the lifeblood of our countries and our country and other countries are coming together to protest these things. I think that is hugely effective, but also, like I said, very risky. I don't know. I don't hear anybody talking about the negative consequences of these things, but I think it's a double-edged sword. And I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm not saying we shouldn't protest and show civil disquietude in these things that we can do under the First Amendment. But yeah, Army Ranger says this won't end well. Good morning, Army Rangers. Good to see you. And good morning to see you all here in the chat. Good morning. Thank you, guys. Let's see. Yeah, I just get a bad feeling, but also good feelings. I think it's going to be a wild ride here, but we'll keep our eye on it. What else do we have? Trucker convoy, yeah, heading to Texas. Poland is on the march as well, as thousands of tractors and farmers hit the roads at a massive show of force against the globalists and their policies. Wow. All right, so we see these protests, we see the border issue. Oh man, all these states banding together. We will see where it goes, and we'll follow it closely. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more information today. I think the federal government in the United States is going to be like, you can't do that. You can't do that. But we'll see. It's like slowly moving towards kind of a civil war situation, and people are kind of joking, looking at all the states coming together. They're like, is the South coming together again? You know, it kind of starting to look like the North versus South here once again. And hopefully we're not seeing the buildup to a historical rhyme of civil war between the North and the South. But it appears that might be the case. Well, let's take a quick look and switch gears here and look at the markets for the day and see where we stand. Things are green. Just across the board doing okay. Gold is at $2,014.40. Silver is at $22.87. And Bitcoin is at $39,673 or $39,673.84. Oh my God, what happened to Tesla this morning? Tesla is down 11.78%. Oh Lord, didn't they have earnings? Is that what happened? Holy crap. Can Tesla stock be headed for correction on growth troubles? Oh yeah, they announced that their forecast for 2024 might look worse than it did in 2023. I think that's maybe why this. Okay, Tesla stock drops on Q4 earnings miss. EV maker warns production growth rate will be notably lower than 2023. Yeah, I remember reading that last night or early this morning. I don't remember. But yeah, holy crap, that is not good. Uh-oh. Down almost 12%. Ouch. It's at $183.33. Yikes. And today's Thursday. We're supposed to have an announcement from PayPal today, and it was supposed to be good. Let's see what's going on with them real quick. They're up 1.24%. And it doesn't look like anything's come out yet. But I think we're supposed to hear something today. We'll see. Well, I'm going to be watching it. Here we had a couple days ago this story that PayPal's new CEO touts innovation event ahead of earnings report. So we'll see. He promises that the company will shock the world a couple days ago. So we're waiting. I'm curious to see this. And I heard speculation it's going to be some kind of AI integration or something like that. There's jokes on the internet here. Zero Hedge posted the latest short selling strategy, which means when you short sell, you're profiting off of the bad performance of a company's as far as their stock value goes. Zero Hedge writes, find the public companies that have the most aggressive DEI hiring and short the shit out of them. Short selling will be banned because it's racist, says somebody in the comments. But it's true. All these woke companies with DEI are not doing so hot at all. A lot of people are pointing this out. And it's all these major companies, so it's easy to say, but kind of funny. Here we have Business Insider will lay off about 8% of its remaining staff, its CEO told staffers on Thursday. And ironically, just after they published an article on December 31st with the headline, "It's time to admit the economy is thriving." The irony here, the blatant baloney going out. BuzzFeed says that Vice Media is looking to sell off parts. It's woke carnage, Zero Hedge writes. Let's see. Let's look at the layoff announcements in 2024 so far, and then we'll move on out of the finance topic here. But this is I guess the trend here is that layoffs. And my link is broken, so let me see if I can pull this list up from, here we go, from Genevieve Rockdecter at GRDECTER on X.com. Layoff announcements in 2024 so far. Twitch cuts 35% of workforce. Their streaming service, a lot of gamers and such are on there. Unity Software, 25%. Brex, 20%. Discord, 17%. Wayfair, 13%. Riot Games, 11%. Duolingo, 10%. Rent the Runway, 10%. eBay, 9%. BlackRock, 3%. Citigroup cuts 20,000 roles. Google cuts 1,000, over 1,000 roles. Amazon cuts several hundred. In 2023, layoffs jumped 98% from 2022. What will 2024 look like? So it doubled between 2022 and 2023, just about. And it's only January, and we're seeing a huge list. And this is the list from announcements this year so far. Holy moly. Everything's fine, folks. Everything's fine. My goodness. Thank you, Forrest, for the donation. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Pardon me. All right, onward here. Let's see. Onward. This is an interesting one. Tony Saruga here. He says that my partners and I have been lifetime data scientists. And it goes on. Let me share my screen here. He says that we own the digital ID of every mobile device computer in the U.S. and have indexed and archived every IP address in the world. Our extensive experience in big and deep data, including geo-tracking and geolocation, makes our dozens of data companies the top authority for providing data to corporations, law enforcement, and U.S. government agencies like the CIA, NSA, DOD, DIA, NGA, NRO, FBI, as well as Interpol and foreign intelligence organizations. There are a number of videos documenting these ghost buses, as well as a number of mostly nondescript DOJ vans that dropped off ninja-wearing individuals that appeared in other videos to have breached the Capitol, cutting fencing, removing barricades, opening doors, and other nefarious behaviors. We also tracked the infamous January 6th pipe bomber from one of these vans. Later, we eventually tracked them to a Virginia metro station where a perfect capture of their vehicle license plate was made. The FBI had all of this information shortly after they were alerted. After January 6th, accessing shortly after they were alerted, however, AT&T mysteriously, accidentally, in quotes, corrupted that and only that particular cell phone user's data. Additionally, their mobile device was used hundreds of times before and after January 6th. Accessing key card required DOJ, FBI, parking garages, and buildings. So, I mean, it's all there and it's all being covered up. And we have people like Tucker talking about this. It appears a greater corrupt scandal is there and being swept under the rug. We talked about Kari Lake being bribed yesterday, and we saw the Arizona Republican chair resigning over the audio that was released where he bribed Kari Lake to stay out of office. We have the full resignation letter, and boy, is it juicy. People, boy, is it juicy. Just one quote, and it's a bullshit letter. I'll retweet the whole thing. But the main takeaway here, because it'll probably take me 5 to 10 minutes to read the whole thing, but the statement from Chairman Jeff DeWitt, he goes into he's a victim and he was targeted by Kari Lake and oh my God, woe is me. There's nothing that bothers me more than like a crook playing victim. And that's the stance. I mean, this is a total non-apology, but he did have an interesting statement from this letter. It said, quote, "A few hours ago, I received an ultimatum from Lake's team. Resign today or face the release of a new, more damaging recording. I have decided not to take the risk. I am resigning as Lake requested." And there's actually a little bit more. So funny. It's not funny, but there was more that he said where he said something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing here off memory. He said something like, after Kari Lake said they'll release new and more damaging recordings, I kind of thought back at our previous conversations, and then I decided not to take the risk. Like, he's like, not that I said anything bad, but, I mean, these are private conversations among friends and blah, blah, blah. And they're taken out of context. Yeah, that's what he says in his letter, too. It's taken out of context. It was nefariously taken out of context. I am a victim. Yeah. Uh-oh. Let's see here. Onward. Apparently, back to the border we go. This was just an interesting one. A little bit out of order, but here we are. New, massive, furnished, homeless caves discovered in California 20 feet below street level. Insane. Colin Rugg writes, volunteer groups removed a whopping 7,600 pounds of trash and also found guns and drugs. The caves were so intricate that they had murals, floor tiles, and one even had a fireplace with a chimney. What? What? More tunnels?
I've covered a lot of homeless stories in the past, but I've never seen such elaborate infrastructure for encampments. It starts with these makeshift steps that lead about 20 feet down below to where these caves are hidden. You can't even see them from up above, and that's likely why they went undetected for so long. Hidden homeless caves tucked along the Tuolumne River in Modesto.
These are basically stairs that they made to get down to the dwelling.
Tracy Rojas took us on the treacherous walk to see the craters created near Crater Avenue.
And if one of these were to collapse, it would be devastating. This whole side would come down and into the water.
7,600 pounds of trash. That's how much was cleared out by volunteer groups and police over the weekend. So this was fully furnished?
Yes. There was bedding, there was little things up on the mantle, lack of a better word, mantle, food items, drugs, guns.
We had a hard time figuring out how they got so much stuff down in there, considering how hard it was. It's always harder to get it up the hill and get it out.
Chris Guptill was one of these volunteers who says they found 8 caves in total, but it wasn't the group's first time down here.
And we really don't have a known solution to deal with it.
In November 2022, CBS 13 took a tour of the cleared out caves, nowhere near as elaborate as they are now.
You can see the hooks on the wall where they had bottles and things like that hanging down.
Painted pictures and even a makeshift fireplace. This was someone's home.
What do you think needs to be done to stop this from happening?
Well, I think we need more emphasis on the homeless. I mean,
I guess perhaps this is just homeless people, but my God, is it craziness? We see this all over our country, man. Holy moly. Pretty wild that this is happening. Just, those are intricate, very intricate for homeless. I mean, come on. It's so wild to me. Some of the things that homeless people do, it's like, man, you're dedicating a lot of time and effort into these things when you could be doing, other things. You could be putting this effort towards other things, better things. Today, we've got the UN top court. Friday is going to make a ruling. The UN's top court said it would hand out its landmark ruling on Friday in the case against Israel over alleged genocide in Gaza. A verdict likely will be watched closely around the world. The International Court of Justice in The Hague could potentially order Israel to stop its military campaign in Gaza, sparked by the unprecedented Hamas attack on October 7th. So we shall wait to see what this court says Friday, which will be tomorrow. We shall see. And NATO has began yesterday its largest military exercise since the Cold War, with U.S. ships leading the way, leaving the United States to transit across the Atlantic to alliance territory in Europe. So here we go. We've got the Kremlin speaking on the military plane crash where prisoners of war that were all killed, apparently by Ukraine, but it's being debated. I don't know. Do they ever come out? They did originally come out and say we did it, and they said we didn't, and then it's just this back and forth. He said, she said thing. But the Kremlin came out and said no one could say how the crash will affect these prisoner swaps in the future. Just an absolute wild story that this thing got shot down by missiles. Russia's top diplomat has come out and accused the United States, South Korea, and Japan of preparing for war with North Korea. An interesting development there. Russia's top diplomat has done that. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov told a UN news conference that this new military bloc brought together by the United States is building up military activity and conducting large-scale exercises. The U.S., South Korea, and Japan have described their combined military drills as defensive in nature and necessary to cope with growing North Korean nuclear threats. All of a sudden, South Korea's rhetoric became more hostile towards Pyongyang, Lavrov said. In Japan as well, we hear aggressive rhetoric, and it is seriously talking about setting up NATO infrastructure with U.S. assistance. So just more concern amongst these global powers. And then, of course, we had the UK Army chief come out and say that British citizens should prepare and be prepared to fight a land war, and that they could be conscripted to do so, meaning police officers and different people could be sent to war when it happens, if it happens. And it seems like that's what they're going for. Oh, my gosh. We had Kim Jong-un come out and call for leveling up the living standards of rural areas, saying if failure to provide necessities, including food, was a serious political issue, and that they're going to work on it. He says, at present, it is a very urgent, immediate task for leveling up the material and cultural living standards of the regional people, Kim said. We should not sit by and wait till the situation and conditions turn favorable, but find more jobs to be faithful to our duty for the sake of our people. Wow. They say things have been worse since the pandemic in North Korea with taking care of their people. Tucker Carlson's absolutely killing it, getting huge swaths of support from Canadians in Edmonton and Alberta. and he got a standing ovation. He says he's there to liberate Canada. He says Canada under Justin Trudeau has become effectively a dictatorship. Why don't we liberate it? And he's over there speaking, and he's absolutely loved. It's interesting, man. I mean, Canadians can't even share this story without being censored on the internet. And that is the state of Canada. I mean, coming soon to a state near you. All right. Let's see here. As always, there's more I haven't got to, but I will publish all of this on Substack. But let's talk about this. Robitussin, which I don't think I eat this stuff. This is a kind of a pharmaceutical or like an over-the-counter drug or something like that. There's been it's a cough syrup. There's been a recall nationwide due to contamination. It says here, New York Post says that Haleon is recalling 8 lots of the popular cough syrup Robitussin due to microbial contamination, per a recent advisory by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. The tainted products in question are the Robitussin Honey, CF Max Day and Nighttime, which are used to alleviate symptoms associated with cold, flu, hay fever, and other respiratory allergies, the regulatory agency states. Uh-oh. It says that if you're not immunocompromised, you're unlikely to experience adverse effects. But still, not good. I don't think I've heard a lot of people, a lot of scientists and doctors and individuals talk about how if you've got a fever, that it's actually doing something. It's actually helping you heal. And that by suppressing it, you could prolong your sicknesses and different theories out there. I'm not a doctor, of course, but I don't believe in taking this kind of stuff. This Robitussin, if you will. Like, what are the side effects of Robitussin, right? Or some people are saying, like, it's not side effects either. It's effects. And then especially, like, how do you get this contamination in there? Not good. So the side effects here, according to Healthline from Robitussin, can include headache, nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, and diarrhea. Side effects from overuse: extreme pain that won't go away in your back or side, blood in your urine, fever and chills, vomiting, urine that smells bad or looks cloudy, and a burning feeling when you urinate. So, gosh, that's Healthline.com reporting the side effects of Robitussin. But, I mean, geez, yikes. Now it has some contamination, apparently. And then I saw this story. I don't know if this is true, but this is highly concerning. Plastic in tea bags shed billions of microplastic particles into your cup. Who published this one? This was livelovefruit.com, which isn't a great source. I've never been here, but an interesting story nonetheless. Let's see if they link the study. After the controversy with pesticides in tea, you'd think that the only thing we'd have to worry about, you'd think that's the only thing we'd have to worry about, but now we're talking about billions of microplastic particles in every brewed cup of tea. Let's see here. The study published in the Journal of Environmental Science and Technology found that steeping a plastic tea bag at a brewing temperature of 95 degrees Celsius released around 11.6 billion microplastics, tiny pieces of plastic between 100 nanometers and 5 millimeters in size. That's huge. Into a single cup. These levels were thousands of times higher than those reported previously in other foods. Whoa. That's wild. Brands that use plastic tea bags. Let's see. Twinings, Tetley, PG Tips, Asda. Marks and Spencer, Waitrose, QITs, Barry's Tea, Little, Tazo, Tivana, Starbucks, Bushels, Lipton, Green Decaf, Chai and Herbal Tea Bags. Wow. Yorkshire Tea, according to this Live Life Fruit article. The brands that don't use plastic tea bags: Good Earth, Brew Tea Company, Hampstead Tea, We Are Tea. Anyway, I'm not going to list them all, but I guess there's good ones and bad ones, and alternative plastic-free tea options. Of course, you could use different brewing methods to avoid plastics in your tea, but my God, pretty wild. Can't we just have some good stuff for our health without being poisoned in some way? Of course, don't make that tea with fluoridated water. I mean, look up the studies on fluoride, huh? My God. All right, there's always more. It'll be on my Substack shortly after this all, but I'm just about out of time here. Let me know how y'all are doing in the comments, what you thought about the stories. If anything I missed, you could always, or if anything's going on, you could always tag me on Twitter. You can always contact me on my website as well if you need to. And I look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow morning. Same bat place, same bat time, hopefully on time tomorrow. It's Friday, though, so I can't wait. Well, I'll be here live, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Hope you can make it. Thank you all for tuning in. Please share my Substack and subscribe and share the shows, too, because it helps tremendously get the word out there and get the show shared, because the algorithms ain't gonna do me any favors here. So I appreciate all of that, everybody. Thank you so much for your support. And please take care. Have a great day. God bless and Godspeed.